what I'm concerned about with the urgency is not just a question of Wi-Fi in the schools. These other things we're talking about, smart meters, cell phones, cell towers, they have a synergistic effect which no one has really studied. The problem could be much, much worse than any of us think about because it's not just one item. And the FCC guidelines are now 20 years out of date. They were dictated probably by the telecom industry. It's something we need to deal with very seriously and hopefully move this as fast as we can.
Thank you, and I appreciate that.
May I offer a clarification concerning the FCC's authority?
Sure. And who would you identify yourself, please?
Sure. My name is Sue Present. I think that the council is possibly misconstruing the FCC's authority. The FCC's regulations concern government's regulatory authority. Governments also have the authority to make policy concerning government's proprietary capacities. And the boards of education operate in a proprietary capacity when they place Wi-Fi and cell towers on their properties and rent or sell their properties for this purpose, or place convey easements for this purpose. So when there are policies concerning the use of their properties for cell towers or wireless Wi-Fi, this may be governed under proprietary use, and the FCC does not ban the examination of health under this area of proprietary capacity. And I will be happy to send you the citation for this.
Thank you very much, Ms. President. And could you send that to me? Again, it's cliff.mitchell@maryland.gov.
Well, I think what we're asking the FCC is to revisit their exposure guidance level. We're not asking
I
them.
understand, but what I'm saying is that Maryland has every right to establish whatever levels it deems are appropriate based upon the guidance it receives from experts, and it need not rely upon the antiquated FCC guidelines.
Thank you very much.
May I chime in here? This is Lisa Klein from Gaithersburg.
Sure, Ms. Klein.
I think they're real brief, but I tend to capture the obvious in these kinds of discussions. And I find it incredibly ironic, maybe that's not the right word, but protections for children are everywhere in my home. And children's Tylenol has, putting the precautions on it. The laundry detergent has precautions on it. When my child was going through chemotherapy, she was not eligible for clinical trials for ethical. They don't want to try anything that has not been proven on children. It's not ethical. And yet, I send my child off to school every day, and he sits in a room showered with Wi-Fi that has not been tested, nor has it been proven safe. There is no test, as far as I know, no report that says this is there's nothing else. There are over 400 peer-reviewed studies that say, in fact, this stuff is quite likely very bad for children. So I don't understand the precautionary principle that's been put on its side here. And I would be inclined to pull the plug on all of this stuff until something comes out that says, you know what, maybe it's okay. I think the children are being used, and it's trial and error, and I think it's very dangerous.
Thank you.
Can I ask Lisa's comments? This is Kim Testa, I'm an MCCS parent.
Yeah, just a minute, Ms. Testa. Okay, go ahead.
I just want to paint the picture for everybody that when students go to classrooms, and I've seen this in several classrooms, there's routers right over the student's head. And you have a classroom, I just give an example of my son when he was in 5th grade, that all the students have Chromebooks, and on their desk throughout the whole day. And my son ladders on the ceilings in her high school. And all these high school students are being encouraged to bring iPhones, computers, iPads, and they're being used throughout the school day. And in one of her classes, I actually commended the teachers that, because I noticed that there were still just taught what hardware and computers being used in her computer science course. And the teacher said to me that they're going to be phased out and converted to more wireless devices. So the concern is these schools are just like on a fast track to eliminate the hardware devices and continue to convert to more wireless devices. And we don't know where these wires are placed in all these classrooms, and the kids are right under them all day long.
Thank you very much, Ms. Testa. Okay, so, yes, ma'am.
Yes, I just wanted
Can
to...
you identify yourself?
I'm Ruth Eisenberg, and I've been working with Maryland Smart Meter Awareness for about 4 or 5 years. And I just want to mention, I urge the council to move expeditiously on this. And some of the council members mentioned the need to look at the science more. And I would like to add that it's so important when you're looking at science to keep in mind that you want to be able to ferret out what the independent science is, because industry has so many ways of controlling what looks like the studies out there by either directly or indirectly funding them. And just one example, I think that's a real eye-opener in the smart meter issue, which obviously is a related thing. Studies would be brought up to the utilities talking about the very deleterious effects of the kind of radiation that smart meters emit. And they would say, oh no, we have experts, on the other side that say exactly the opposite. And then you would find out who is their expert. Well, it was somebody by the name of Peter Valberg, and yes, he had all the proper degrees and everything else. He looked highly qualified. But when you did the research and did your homework, you found out that he was part of a company, an organization that you can hire to prove anything you want. So for example, the same Peter Valberg, he had worked for the tobacco industry back in the day, saying that no, smoking was perfectly fine, and the utilities had no shame and no compunction about using him as their expert. And a lot of people in the public who probably didn't know who he was, it was very confusing. Here's this guy, from Harvard saying it's all okay and it's safe, and other people saying no. And you really have to know what science you're looking at and where it's coming from, and to please look at science that is truly independent.
This is Diana Conway. May I chime in?
Yes, please.
I'm a parent in Montgomery County who has 3 kids go through public school, and is facing a huge spike in the cell towers coming to this community in Montgomery County, as well as the synthetic turf. And we've had the same experience with the quote studies funded by industry. In particular, they have a very favorite consultant that they go to called Gradient, which has been explained away by the Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative journal called CIP, Center for Investigative, CIP, I forget what it is, but CIP, they won a Pulitzer for their prize. And the fellow that's being used exclusively for example, artificial turf is the same guy over and over, who goes from national and international conferences down to our little tiny local paper in Montgomery County, talking about how great it is, and citing outdated studies, and citing studies that were clearly industry funded. I don't know how you get around this problem, except as the previous speaker mentioned, doing your homework and debunking the fact that these people are paid. I mean, Gradient is on record even recently defending corporate products that contain lead, saying, well, that level of lead has never been proven to be dangerous to children. Well, that's because, as the prior speaker said, we don't do things like that to children.
So, Ms. Conway, so I'm just going to ask, in the interest of time, if you're commenting on the Wi-Fi issue, if you can confine your remarks to that, because we'll talk about synthetic turf later.
The perfect parallel, as I said, it's coming to our community and nobody knew it was coming, and a lot of parents are having the same reaction, largely for toxicity issues and cancer, but also for their property values, and they're being rolled by politicians who have been rolled by industry who are, they see a profit model, you can't blame them.
Okay, thank you.